Akame ga kill. A couple is seen at the beginning, where it can be seen that the gentleman tells his wife that he has heard that a new kind of dangerous beast has been seen in the area. She should not go out. Meanwhile, a group of beasts attack their house and kill them. In the next scene, the Prime Minister assigns Esdeath to track down the danger beasts from the previous episode and kill them. Upon hearing this, Esdeath asks him to send her reward money to her troops, whom she has left in the north. In the next scene, the Jaegers attack some of the danger beasts after they attack a wagon of supplies. Wave recalls yesterday's incident and notes that the merchant's behavior was terrified of Bowles, despite his kind of personality, because of his otherwise fearsome appearance. Kurome then reminds him that Wave's reaction was like that on the first day. After that, Bowles tells him that despite his personality, he had killed many people in the past, earning himself a lot of hate from the people. Bowles' wife and younger daughter visit the Jaegers in support of Bowles' work, much to his surprise of Wave. And he thanks Wave that now his wife and daughter know all about him and are there for him. Meanwhile, Tatsumi trains with Susanoo and tells him that he should be considered one of the members of Night Raid and not a tool. Night Raid travels to their new hideout and is given their latest mission: kill the modified danger beasts. This is helping the capital they have been fighting. When Chelsea states her belief that the Jaegers should take care of the problem, Tatsumi counters that assisting the capital could save more lives. Chelsea later confides to Najenda that she believes Tatsumi's kindness will ultimately lead him to death. Esdeath and Run express to each other their beliefs that since the new danger beasts were revealed to have once been human, they were possibly the result of one of Dr. Stylish's experiments. The pair assume that the new danger beasts either somehow managed to escape their containment or were freed by someone. Suryu and Koro take out a group of the danger beasts as their master watches, deciding that he'll continue playing with his toys. While patrolling the mountains the next night, Tatsumi learns about Lubbock's reasons for joining Night Raid and that they involve Najenda. Tatsumi travels to the top of a mountain alone to look for more danger beasts, when he is suddenly confronted by a wandering Esdeath, who is shocked to see him. Esdeath's shock at seeing Tatsumi turns to delight, but their reunion is cut short when Sura, a hooded man overseeing the activities of the new danger beasts, appears. Sura uses his imperial arm known as Shambhala, which can teleport objects, teleporting Esdeath and Tatsumi to a distant island. A giant modified danger beast created from Dr. Stylish's experiment confronts them and repels Esdeath's attack. The danger beast is slain by Tatsumi, only for another gigantic danger beast to appear and be dealt with quickly by Esdeath. Tatsumi and Esdeath decide to tell each other their backstories at nighttime, with Tatsumi faking his. Esdeath reveals that she hailed from a clan that hunted dangerous beasts. Her father tells her that the strongest shall survive and the weak shall fall. When her clan was attacked by a rival tribe and all of its members were killed, she was told by her dying father that the clan was weak and she needed to live strong. As a result, Esdeath enlisted in the Imperial Army and became a skillful general. Tatsumi then asks about Esdeath's Imperial arm, which she reveals to be represented by the symbol on her chest. Esdeath thinks of getting off the island and tries to hunt a flying danger beast. Sura's teleportation field appears and Esdeath and Tatsumi jumped in, returning them to the mountains. Tatsumi flees using his Incursio and realizes that Esdeath cannot be persuaded to turn against the Empire, suspecting that they will become enemies the next time they meet. Lubbock asks Tatsumi why he allowed Esdeath to return to the mainland with him instead of leaving her on the island. However, Najenda replies that Esdeath would have escaped from the island either way before revealing that she knows her personally. Meanwhile, Wave confronts Suryu about murdering 3 bandits suspected of being Night Raid members. She brushes him off, causing Wave to remark that the capital is twisted, even though he still maintains his loyalty as a soldier. Najenda tells Night Raid about the Path of Peace. This pacifist religious organization is inciting a religious uprising that the Revolutionary Army and Night Raid plan to assist them with. The Revolutionary Army and an allied tribe will launch attacks against the capital simultaneously with the Path of Peace's uprising. Najenda assigns Night Raid to assassinate Bolek, the advisor of the Path of Peace's founder and a spy for the Prime Minister. Bolek is also drugging many of the religion's followers into obedience. Najenda instructs Night Raid to kill the Jaegers, especially Kurome and Bowles, who will doubtless respond. The next day, Mine comforts Akame when she expresses her doubts about battling Kurome. Meanwhile, Esdeath splits the Jaegers into 2 teams. She will attack Najenda with Seiryu and run, while Wave, Kurume, and Balls pursue Akame. Wave's team arrives at a canyon and Mine fires a shot at Kurume, who manages to dodge it. Susanoo arrives and knocks Wave away, leaving Kurume and Balls to be confused by the whole Night Raid team. Kurume activates her imperial arm known as Yatsufusa, bringing forward the last 8 victims of its blade as Kurume's puppets. Among those summoned is a giant danger beast known as a Destra Ghoul. As Kurume wonders how many of the imperial arms users present will die. Initially, Night Raid engages Balls and Kurume with her puppets. Kurume draws the first attack from her puppet Destra Ghoul, which fires a powerful beam. Akame commits Balls and the puppet bodyguard war after a brief melee with Kurume and their deceased friend-turned-puppet Natala. Tatsumi fights against Ape Man and Henter. Susanoo fights against Destra Ghoul. Leon fights against Rakugo, and Mine fights against Doya. During the fight, Leon's left arm is cut off by Kurume while fighting Rakugo, forcing Najenda to kill Rakugo herself. Meanwhile, Balls asks Akame about joining the revolutionary army. Akame responds that she chose it from her heart and thinks that it is the right path. Leon joins Akame as they kill War and disable the Balls' Tegu. Meanwhile, Tatsumi is almost overwhelmed by Ape Man and Henter until he is finally assisted in killing them by a disguised Chelsea. Kurume sends out her Kaiser Frog to swallow Mine while she's engaged to Doya, but Mine manages to defeat the frog and escape. Susanoo transforms into a more powerful form gained from Najenda's life force and kills Destra Ghoul. In a desperate attempt, Balls throws Rubicante up and detonates it, intending to use the massive explosion to kill Akame and Leon. As shown in the previous episode, Balls throws up Rubicante's gas tank in the air, says aloud what she might think he'd do. In his hand, Balls presses a portable device that blows up the tank and causes a big explosion. Tatsumi, Mine, Najenda, and Susanoo are also caught in the explosion, with Tatsumi defending them and wondering what is happening. He looks around to find that Kurume isn't there. Though Kurume escaped with her childhood friend Natala, she knew Balls had made the explosion and predicted that he would not survive. She even wonders if Akame is alright. In the middle of the aftermath, Leon protects Akame with Wall's shield and passes out. Balls is seen injured as he can get away from the explosion. He then returned to a flashback of him talking to Esdeath, who asked why he'd always cooked for them but never sat and ate with them. Balls replied, with his face being unpleasant for them to eat while in his presence. Esdeath took on the challenge and removed his mask, responding with a smile that he didn't look that bad, and saying she was a little disappointed. Balls then participated in having meals with everyone and felt happy, as he wished they could do so again in the present. Balls then spots an injured little girl and comes to her, but the girl is afraid of him, thinking he is a ghost because of his mask. Balls tells her not to be scared and bandages her when he sees that she's injured. The little girl thanks him, but says that places he has burned will never improve while she stabs him in the back of his neck. The girl reveals herself to be Chelsea in disguise as one of the victims Balls killed due to their village being suspected of assisting the revolutionary army. As Balls realizes that today is the day that he will have to face retribution, he tries to fight off the poison to get back home, but dies. As Chelsea leans back against the tree and says a battle between those who work in the shadow is really painful, Lubbock comes and is glad Chelsea managed to take out Balls. Chelsea states that she is going after Kurume, and Lubbock tries to warn her that it is dangerous and notes that rogue is not her style. When Chelsea states that they can't allow Kurume to get more puppets, Lubbock agrees and tells her to pursue Kurume, but states that he will get reinforcements for her and leaves. As Chelsea thanks him, she says she has gotten soft, but tries to focus on the mission, disguises herself as Balls, and goes after Kurume. Leon prepares to have her arm reattached in a nearby cavern with the Night Raid resting. Lubbock enters, reporting Chelsea's intentions, urging Najenda to send Tatsumi and Akame as reinforcements. Chelsea later meets with Kurume, the latter not knowing Balls' fate. They proceeded to travel to the nearby town of Romilly, but Kurume collapses from exhaustion from using her Tegu. Chelsea catches Kurume off guard and poisons her. Chelsea then reveals herself, shocking Kurume, who appears to die from her wound. Chelsea states her mission has been accomplished as both targets have been removed. She then begins to remember when she used her tegu first. Chelsea used to work for a corrupted viceroy who hunted and killed people for sport. Disgusted by his actions, Chelsea discovers Gaia Foundation in a basement. Due to the positive reception of his death, Chelsea realized that she could help change the kingdom of its corrupt nature. Kurume wakes up suddenly, shocking Chelsea. Kurume struggles agonizingly to stand up, stating new drugs were developed for her to take following Akame's departure, hence why Kurume is always eating candy and that she cannot be killed directly unless stabbed through the heart or decapitated. Chelsea makes a smoke screen and starts to escape. Kurume sends Natala and Doya behind her. Overhearing Chelsea's statement about her mission has been accomplished, Kurume vows to avenge Bowles. Chelsea tries to transform and escape, but Doya destroys her tegu, and all the fingers on her left hand apart from her thumb are severed by Natala. She manages to escape them, only for Natala to catch up and cut off her right arm. Doya then shoots Chelsea in the back, mortally wounding her. In her final moments, Chelsea realizes she is facing retribution, and wonders what would have happened if her mission had been successful. Natala then slices her head off, killing her. In Romilly, Tatsumi and Akame try to track Chelsea down. Following a trail of blood, they theorized it could be Chelsea's or Kurume's. Using Incursio's invisibility to infiltrate the city, Tatsumi assures himself that Chelsea would not be so reckless and the blood could not have been hers. However, he notices a commotion inside a town square, and to his horror sees Chelsea's decapitated head on a spike high above the ground. Tatsumi reminisces about Shile, Bulat and Chelsea, regretting that he could not spend more time with them. He had wanted to fight alongside them in the coming revolution. He then wonders if he would have survived if he had been stronger. However, his thoughts are interrupted by Mine, who tells him to rush up as Night Raid prepares to assassinate Bolek in Kyorok. In the Kyorok Palace, Esdeath and the Jaegers are sent by Prime Minister Honest to help protect Bolek from the Night Raid. Bolek then introduces the 4 Rakshasa demons, his 4 personal bodyguards from the capital, to the Jaegers. Siryu doubts their capabilities, noting that they don't have Tegu, but Ibarra suddenly appears behind her, reassuring her they can fight on par with Tegu users. The rest of the 3 Rakshasa demons note that even though Tegu is powerful, their wielders are merely human and have previously defeated Tegu users. As Ibarra continues to brag about their abilities, Esdeath holds an ice spear to his neck, scolding him for underestimating Night Raid. She then notes that Bolek has gathered his personal guards and the Jaegers to defend him, making her conclude that he is extremely cautious. Wave then notices that Kurume has become exhausted due to Chelsea's earlier assassination attempt. He then recalls the day that Bowles was killed and he found Kurume unconscious. Wave then cursed himself for not being alongside his comrades to help him. But Run stated that he took the hit from Susanoo meant for Kurume, effectively protecting her. They took her to recover from her injuries. Esdeath entered, having dissected Chelsea's body, but could not discover anything about her. Siryu then received permission from Esdeath to feed Chelsea's body to Koro, much to his delight. Suddenly, to Wave's surprise, Kurume woke up, appearing to be all fine. She then asked Esdeath if she could continue working under her. Esdeath attacked Kurume to test her condition, which Kurume defended successfully against, allowing her to resume her position in the Jaegers. In the present, Kurume, now extremely exhausted, locks herself in a bedroom provided by Bolek, but is being followed by Wave. He tells her that she can't fight in her current condition and starts to report it to Esdeath, but Kurume comes out. She says that weakened soldiers like her are useless and disposed of. Refusing such a fate, she states that she would die fighting if she was to die. Tatsumi notes the lack of wanted posters and suggests that they can be less alert since Night Raid is less known in Kyorok, but Mine insists that they keep their guard up. However, Tatsumi states that if they are on guard too much, it creates tension that the enemies can notice. He went on to say that acting casual would help them blend in more. Mine then notes how Tatsumi has matured since then. Even though he was extremely upset at Chelsea's death, he is calm and focused on the mission. She accepted the ice cream, finding it surprisingly good. Meanwhile, Lubok scouts the streets closer to the palace. He notes the easiness of slipping into a crowd and plans to gather information to score points with Najenda. He then imagines Najenda naked, pleasuring himself greatly, and anticipates meeting her afterwards. However, he was spotted by Mez and Sten, who noticed his way of walking. They infer that he is someone who has fought many battles and concludes that he is one of the enemy. They then decided to kill him later. At night, in a nearby cemetery, Revolutionary Army members reported to Akame that a hidden passageway connecting the cemetery and palace exists. However, Ibarra sneaks up on the two army members and watches them. He then reveals himself to Akame, who remembers him from the assassination unit in the capital. She prepares to fight him, but like the other Rakshasa demons, he can control their whole bodies as they please, allowing him to bend and twist his body at will, easily avoiding Akame's attacks. He then begins a relentless long-range attack by extending his arms. He then notes the sinister aura emitting from Murasame. When Akame tries to strike back, he grabs Murasame from her, only for her to reject him, as the Tegu and Ibarra are not compatible. While distracted, Akame breaks Ibarra's neck, forcing him to drop Murasame. She then tells him that by calling it sinister, Murasame did not get together with Ibarra, preventing Ibarra from wielding it. Ibarra laughs, stating Akame is very dangerous and that he might have fallen for her, and dies shortly after. Mez and Sten attacked Lubok and chased him down the streets. Sten charges at Lubok and punches him with such brute force that he slams into the ground, buried slightly. Sten assumes that Lubok has died and laughs at his fragility. Unknown to Sten, Lubok used Crosstail to absorb the impact, therefore it only takes a little damage. Lubok pretends to be dead and waits impatiently for Sten to leave. However, Mez catches a woman working for the Revolutionary Army who was supposed to meet Lubok earlier. Sten offers to free her soul and grabs her by the neck as she pleads for help. Lubok hesitates, stating that he cannot save her right now, but he gives in and throws a knife at Sten, who catches it. Mez then mocks Lubok, calling him an idiot and saying he should have stayed playing dead. Lubok then says he cannot watch an ally die if he can save them. Lubok flaunts Crosstail, swinging it around wildly. He then starts to fight Sten. After a short skirmish, Lubok forms a spoke made of wire and attacks Sten, but it has no effect. Sten mocks the strength of Lubok's attack, but Lubok claims he has done what he wanted. Mez and Sten notice that the woman from earlier is gone, and Lubok suddenly runs away. They then conclude that Lubok was using flashy moves to distract them so the woman could escape. Sten then charges towards Lubok at high speed but is caught by a wire on the neck, cutting it slightly. Lubok then impales Sten with his spear, has wires trapped around his heart and crushes it, killing Sten. Mez expresses his surprise at Lubok being able to take down Sten. She then uses her sweat control to wet Crosstail's wires, making them useless. Lubok compliments her looks, saying if the two were not enemies, he would want to seduce her. She shows mutual feelings towards him, but states only in another lifetime. As Mez was about to kill Lubok, the two knives came back and stabbed her in the back, incapacitating her. Lubok reveals that he tied thin wires to the knives so that he could bring them back. He then finishes off Mez but becomes upset at how many cute girls he has to kill. On the outskirts of Kurok, Mine complains about how searching the area is tedious and that if she were allowed to shop, she would be able to search more easily. Tatsumi expresses his contempt for her shopping as he recalls when he first joined Night Raid. The two argued loudly, only to be interrupted by the leader of the Path of Peace. At the Kurok Palace, Bolek prepares a fake ritual with a young woman. However, a guard reports that 3 of the 4 Rakshasa demons have been eliminated. Seryu states that the Jaegers are the only ones who can match the Night Raid now, and Esdeath declares that she will defeat Najenda once she enters the palace. Within the palace in Kurok, Wave and Suzuko watch Seryu and Koro play with local children. Seryu is overjoyed to see several children on the side of justice, but becomes serious when she feels the need to protect them from evil. At one of Night Raid's hideouts, Najenda debriefs the upcoming mission, infiltrating the palace and murdering Bolek. Susanoo brings in dinner for everyone to prepare them for the mission. Seryu and Suzuka stand guard over the palace, but then Suzuka notices Tatsumi and Mine disguised as civilians, and both of them follow the 2 Night Raid members to the outskirts of town. Tatsumi and Mine intend to draw out Seryu and Suzuka in order to create a distraction for the rest of the Night Raid to infiltrate the palace. Tatsumi and Mine become flustered when reminded of the red string of fate mentioned in the previous episode, and the two begin to argue. Unbeknownst to both of them, they are spotted by Seryu, who in turn is shocked and disappointed to learn that Tatsumi is part of Night Raid, but decides to kill him anyway alongside Mine. Seryu launched a large frontal attack of missiles and explosives against the two, who narrowly escaped. Tatsumi confirmed their attacker as Seryu, prompting Mine to want to fight her. Right then, they are attacked by Suzuka. Tatsumi faces off against Suzuka while Mine prepares to battle Shiryu. Shiryu launches a giant rocket at Mine, only for the latter to destroy it effortlessly, and Mino disables Koro for a moment by hitting its core. Shiryu then jumps closer to Mine to confront her directly, stating that evil cannot win against justice. She mocks Shilei's death and also reveals that Koro ate Chelsea's body after Kurume killed her. Mine points out the irony of Shiryu's morals and critiques her, bringing up Ogre and Dr. Stylish, stating her inability to see them as evil villains. Nevertheless, she claims to fight for justice. She is no different from any evil person, even calling her broken, and those evil people like her deserve to die. This only infuriates Shiryu, who rebuffs her words and then has Koro, recovering from Mine's previous attack, enlarge his arms and attack Mine, but he is utterly powerless against her as she effortlessly blasts him apart and countering every attack he tries to use. Shiryu is shocked at this increase in power. An angry Shiryu tells Koro to stand his ground because Mine cannot continue this attack forever, but Mine says that since she's fought it once already, she now knows where Koro's core is, so it won't be long as she keeps shooting at the weakened Koro until his core is shown. Just as she's about to destroy Koro's core, Shiryu transforms him into his trump card, Berserker, which then unleashes his howling scream. But Mine anticipates this and puts on her earplugs to negate the sound. As Koro recovers from Mine's attack, Shiryu fires an explosive weapon at Mine, forcing her to jump out of position. Shiryu advances towards Mine and the latter shoots the former on her way down. Shiryu quickly moves into close quarters where Pumpkin's long range is ineffective and starts a relentless assault of physical attacks, injuring Mine, but fails to finish her off due to the injury she received from Mine's shots moments ago. Despite the difference in strength, Tatsumi vows to overcome it and win. Then while Mine is down, a recovered Koro goes to Shiryu and makes a plan to attack Mine from both sides. At the palace, chaos follows as Night Raid infiltrates. Susanoo effortlessly knocks aside Natala and Doya. Despite the difference in strength, Tatsumi vows to overcome it and win. Then while Mine is down, a recovered Koro goes to Shiryu and makes a plan to attack Mine from both sides. At the palace, chaos follows as Night Raid infiltrates. Susanoo effortlessly knocks aside Natala and Doya, forcing Kurume to fight herself. As Leon is about to attack her, Wave intervenes, declaring he is their opponent, and activates Grand Chariot. However, the result of their fight is not shown, but it is shown later that Leon won the fight. Tatsumi and Suzuka continue their fight at some ruins near the outskirts of town. Knowing that he cannot win by combat, Tatsumi decides to destroy the ruins they're in. The debris crush and kills Suzuka, but Tatsumi manages to escape. Meanwhile, Mine, still battered by Shiryu's attack, starts to remember when she was persecuted for being a foreigner. She then gathers up determination, saying that she cannot die just yet. Shiryu and Koro begin to attack Mine from both sides, but Mine uses her trump card to tear through Koro, bifurcating it, and Shiryu tries to finish her off with her last remaining weapons. This leaves her vulnerable as Mine unleashes her trump card again to brutally cut Shiryu in half with a powerful energy beam from Pumpkin and revenge Shilei. However, this attack exhausts Mine's strength. Despite losing, Shiryu reveals she has a hidden bomb inside her skull, declaring justice will always prevail. Shiryu laughs at the insanity until she sees a dying Koro confront her, unable to regenerate anymore now that his core is destroyed beyond repair. In her final moments, she shows no remorse for her actions, only lamenting that she is not finished killing everyone she sees as an enemy, and tearfully states she doesn't want to die. The bomb detonates, killing Shiryu and Koro, while Mine is saved at the last second by Tatsumi, rendering Shiryu's bomb attempt futile and putting an end to her killing rampage. Back at the palace, Esdeath walks back into the throne room, only to find that Bolek fled from fear and was confronted by Najenda. Bolek tries to escape, but Akame, Leon and Lubok halt him. Akame kills Holimaka, while Lubok hangs Bolek, finishing their mission. The next day, Mino showed some signs of affection towards Tatsumi. She then makes Tatsumi promise her what he promised to Akame, to survive no matter what. It begins with Honest and his group of government officials meeting within the palace, noting the rapid advancement of the revolutionary army. As they start to panic, Budo steps in, declaring that he will protect the kingdom no matter what. Honest then introduces Sura and his elite unit to the officers. Sura claims confidently that he can handle the situation and that Budo's involvement is unnecessary. However, Budo ignores his remark, stating that some rats come before the entire swarm. Later on at the Jaeger's residence, Wave comments on how much emptier the place has become due to half their members being deceased. Run came in to bring food and they discuss the state of the revolution. Wave expresses his frustration, saying that the Jaegers should be helping out instead of standing idly. The tension is broken when Kurume asks for seconds, but she collapses and falls unconscious due to the injury inflicted on her by Chelsea. Outside the palace, soldiers start to gather and prepare for the revolution and are watched by Tatsumi and Lubok. Leon and Mine walk through a sewer pathway where Leon teases Mine about her relationship with Tatsumi, causing the latter to be flustered. At some ruins in the forest, Najenda, Akame and Susanoo prepare for the upcoming revolution. Lubok and Tatsumi stay in an alley to meet with an agent from the Revolutionary Army, where Lubok teases Tatsumi about Mine. When Tatsumi denies anything going on and Lubok asks if they kissed, the agent arrives. She leads them into a secret area in the palace where a Revolutionary Army meeting is supposed to occur. Budo and Sura confront Tatsumi and Lubok and proceed to fight. Tatsumi faces off against Budo, but he proves to be no match for the general and is easily defeated and restrained. Lubok battles against Sura, who taunts Lubok by flaunting Tegu's teleporting powers. Lubok attempts to move into areas Sura has not marked, only to find that everywhere in the palace, even the air, is marked. Lubok uses this opportunity to set traps with Crosstail, but is betrayed by the agent earlier, who is revealed to have worked for Sura, who has her family captive. Sura kills the agent and laughs as her family has been dead for a long time. Sura then transports Lubok into a separate dimension from which he claims no one has escaped. Lubok pierces Sura in the heart, killing him. However, they were transported back to the palace, thousands of feet into the air with no means of recovery. Lubok runs out of his wife and admits that this is the end for him. He lands on a cluster of spears, dying instantly to the horror of Tatsumi. Later, as Tatsumi is imprisoned, Budo reports to Honest. Initially, he appears upset about Sura's death but quickly brushes it off, much to Budo's disgust. Esdeath enters asking Budo to hand over Tatsumi's responsibility to her. The next day, Tatsumi's public execution was announced, with the rest of the Night Raid members in shock. Mine attempts to rescue Tatsumi on her own, but is stopped by Akame, telling her that she cannot do it alone. She then reveals that she plans to go along with Mine if she decides to go. Leon comes in, agrees with Akame and decides to join the two. Najenda arrives and assigns Night Raid an emergency mission to rescue Tatsumi and prevent his execution. Esdeath meets Tatsumi later in his cell, having learned of his true loyalty. She asked him to leave the Night Raid and join the Jaegers. Tatsumi states that he won't fight for her, but she breaks open the cell and states that if he doesn't accept her offer he will die, but Tatsumi tells her he'll die fighting for his comrades. She hugs him, still expressing her desire for him. However, he rejects her, stating that he doesn't want to be with someone who only wants to spread war and destruction. Shocked, Esdeath decides to perform the upcoming execution herself. The remaining Jaegers learn of Esdeath's plans the following day. Wave asks what it means to kill the person you love, and Run responds that Esdeath is willing to kill Tatsumi out of love because if he is to die, she would want to be the one to do it. Kurume agrees, stating that it's similar to her situation with Akame. As she loves her sister, she wants to be the one to kill her. Later at the public execution, the Emperor denounces Tatsumi's involvement in Night Raid and says that he is not to disturb the peace within the kingdom. Esdeath walks up to Tatsumi thinking that if he really is the man she knew, he will find a way to escape. She then proceeds to kill him but is interrupted by Mine, who shoots around the area to disperse the civilians, letting them flee the scene. Najenda, Leon and Susanoo arrive, detonating Lubok's explosives around the arena to separate Esdeath and Tatsumi. General Budo steps in and faces Leon and Mine, while Najenda and Susanoo fight Esdeath. Susanoo fights Esdeath, but soon it proves to be no match for her. Najenda activates the Magatama manifestation and Susanoo receives a large increase in strength. At the same time, Budo proves to be too strong for Leon to handle and he easily overpowers him. He then relentlessly attacks Mine, whose pumpkin seems to have no effect in spite of her situation. When Budo launches a devastating attack on a tired Mine, she uses up the last of her strength. She fires a blast so large and destructive that it shatters the outer shell of Pumpkin's barrel, kills Budo, and completely incinerates his Tegu. His body falls to the ground. Mine starts to collapse from exhaustion, but Akame frees Tatsumi and gives him back in Curcio, which he uses to catch Mine as she falls. Esdeath then freezes time to gain the upper hand in her battle against Susanoo. When she destroys his body and his core, Najenda uses the Magatama manifestation again, reviving Susanoo and taking a serious toll on herself. However, even with his increased strength, Susanoo still cannot match Esdeath's power, and instead sacrifices himself to buy time so the rest of the Night Raid can escape alive. Once they depart, Esdeath says that Najenda's subordinates are too passionate, but then acknowledges Susanoo as a warrior. The two clash and Esdeath eventually defeats Susanoo. Later, Mine, fatally injured from the battle against Budo, confesses her love for Tatsumi. The two kiss and Mine dies in Tatsumi's arms, causing him to cry out in sorrow. At Night Raid's hideout in the beginning, the remaining members mourn the deaths of Lubok, Susanoo, and Mine. Tatsumi asks why they went through so much to save him. Najenda states that the public execution would have demoralized the revolutionary army, so it had to be stopped, adding that they managed to eliminate Budo, as he had been a thorn in their side for years. But Tatsumi asks how she can be okay with that. Leon tells him that Najenda is grieving for their fallen comrades, especially Susanoo, who states that he has accomplished his mission. Akame says that the remaining members carry the emotions and duties of the deceased members, and Leon states that they must complete their goal in order for their fallen comrades to rest in peace. Najenda later enters her room and expresses her grief over losing Susanoo, acknowledging him as her partner, not just a Tegu. On the streets of the capital, Wave and a group of soldiers try to contain a riot caused by the civilians, but they fail. Wave, frustrated by the impending rebellion, asks if there is anything he can do to stop it. Run calms him down, stating that they will be needed when the chaos follows after the rebellion. However, she says that freedom is not her desire. Esdeath is overwhelmed with joy that Tatsumi has survived, as she promises to go after him after she kills everyone in the rebel army. The Emperor learns about the upcoming rebellion as the revolutionary army is getting closer and closer to the capital. He starts to question if he has been a bad ruler, but Honest reassures him that he has done nothing wrong and that the rebels are foolish. Later, Kurome's condition worsens, and she says that she and Akame must settle things once and for all. At a public display of some rebel corpses, Akame noticed a code carved into one of them and concluded that it was from Kurome. Akame admits that she must fight Kurome and plans to meet her that night. Akame meets Kurome at a ruined church in the middle of the forest, and the two begin to remember their past together as assassins trained by the capital. Kurome expresses her anger at her sister for leaving her and betraying the capital, and Akame replies that the corruption within the kingdom is what made her join the Night Raid. The two start to battle, but are soon interrupted by a modified danger beast. Natala saves Kurome as he gets crushed by the danger beast, with Doya suffering the same fate shortly afterward. The sisters temporarily do the trick and work together to kill the dangerous beast. After it dies, they resume their duel, only to be interrupted by Wave, who intervenes, stating that he is Akame's opponent. Wave argues with Tatsumi, stating that he doesn't want this fight to happen, and the latter agrees but says that sometimes you must do things alone, or else you cannot be at peace. Kurome convinces Wave to stand aside and hints that she has feelings for him. Akame and Kurome resume their fight one more time, with Akame piercing her sister with Murasame, killing her. Wave falls to his knees, overcome with grief that another one of his comrades has died. Carrying Kurome's body away, Wave asks what he is supposed to fight for, and Akame responds that only those with enough resolve to continue on have the right to wield a weapon. Wave leaves and Akame collapses from exhaustion. Akame, saddened by killing her sister, cries into Tatsumi's arms. At the capital palace, Honest brings the emperor to the kingdom's supreme Tegu. Honest declares that it is time to show the rebels their foolish acts, and the emperor says that he must use this power to protect his kingdom. In the beginning, Wave visits Kurome's grave on the outskirts of the capital. He speaks about his past, having idolized a general in the army. He then confesses that he no longer knows what he's fighting for now that the rebellion and corruption within the capital are beginning to arise. At Night Raid's hideout, Tatsumi, Akame and Leon discuss their possible future after the conclusion of the rebellion. Najenda enters, thanking the three for their efforts up to this point, and discusses the Night Raid's final mission, to assassinate Prime Minister Honest and complete the rebellion. The next day, Najenda and the Revolutionary Army launched a frontal attack on the capital to act as a diversion so Tatsumi, Akame and Leon could break into the palace. The capital did not recognize this event as a crime, leading Run to want to change the capital from the inside. Leon and Run argue about each other's morals, leading Leon to hold him off while Akame and Tatsumi head for the Prime Minister. In the throne room, the Emperor learns of the rapid growth of the rebellion and questions once again if he had been a bad ruler. However, Honest reassures them that he did nothing wrong, blaming it on the rebellion and that they are being foolish. He then told the Emperor that a ruler must be cruel at times like this to show that the people must not go against their king. Tatsumi and Akame enter the room, with the latter trying to attack Honest but being blocked by a barrier. The Emperor blames the Night Raid for causing chaos in the kingdom. However, Honest denies his accusation, stating that what he did was for the Emperor. But Tatsumi calls him out on his lies and tells him to hear what's happening outside, that the Empire has finished. Much to Honest's anger, who tells him to shut his mouth. He then tells the Emperor to bring out the capital's strongest Tegu, Shikoteiza. Honest starts ranting that God will punish anyone who goes against the Emperor, as the Shikoteiza has been unleashed. The Emperor uses Shikoteiza and shoots giant energy beams, destroying large portions of the capital to demonstrate his power and discourage any rebels or citizens from going against him. Honest praises his actions, stating that his late parents are proud and that he is a true emperor, and tells him to finish off the rebellion. Tatsumi criticizes the Emperor's action as he is killing his own people, which is something a leader doesn't do, but he silences him as he justifies his actions as the Emperor and once again blames Night Raid for causing the mess. Honest cheers for the Emperor and warns him not to listen to Tatsumi, that if he stops, then everything they have done to take over the empire will have been for nothing. The Emperor agrees with his words, earning Tatsumi's anger. Tatsumi mocks the Emperor for being deceived and used by Honest as his puppet, but he is too selfish and blinded by the power to listen, warning him to shut up. His repeated attempts to stop the Emperor fails as he slowly becomes weaker from receiving every attack. Due to the fight, some pieces of building debris begin to fly around the capital. Just as Tatsumi is about to be crushed underfoot by the colossal Tegu, Wave arrives to save him, saying that he will help him take down the Emperor. Leon and Run both save some civilians from being crushed, ending their previous fight, and Run states he is no longer on the side of the capital. However, their combined strength is no match for Shikoteiza's defense. Tatsumi notices that striking Shikoteiza's abdomen appears to damage it. Wave is also badly wounded, with Grand Chariot disabled, unable to assist Tatsumi any longer. A desperate Emperor asks why Tatsumi keeps fighting him and begs him to give up. With this new power, Tatsumi strikes Shikoteiza's weak point again, with the Emperor screaming in pain at its shock, and this time piercing through and destroying it, much to the shock and disbelief of Honest, as his plan starts to fall apart. However, Shikoteiza starts to fall over, heading towards another group of civilians. Tatsumi rushes over to stop Shikoteiza from reaching the civilians and, with the rest of his strength, stops it before it can reach them. After saving the people, Tatsumi is left fatally injured as Akame rushes over to Tatsumi's battered and bloodied body. He then apologizes to her, saying he can no longer keep his promise. Akame then cries about the choice he made that broke his promise, while Tatsumi dies in her arms. Later, the Emperor laments his defeat and asks if the Empire is lost, while Esdeath walks over to Akame and Tatsumi's corpses. Following the Emperor's defeat and Tatsumi's death in the beginning, Esdeath states Tatsumi died because he was weak. However, she cannot explain a certain feeling that she has now that her loved one has passed. Members of the Revolutionary Army spot Esdeath and begin to attack her, as she is the only soldier left on the Empire's side. Esdeath uses her Tegu to quickly eliminate all of them, laying waste to the palace and killing all the people Tatsumi saved earlier, rendering his sacrifice useless. Akame asks about Esdeath's motives, as the empire is lost and there is nothing left to gain. Esdeath says that she wishes to be the winner and will create more war if there is none. Akame resolves to kill Esdeath, saying that she cannot allow someone like her to live. Akame then starts to fight against Esdeath. Esdeath later on expresses her excitement about fighting someone so skilled. Esdeath states that if Akame refuses, she will die. Akame disagrees, stating that human lives are not something to be trampled on, which Esdeath dismisses, saying that she cannot understand. The two resume their battle, but Esdeath quickly proves her superiority and outduels Akame. When she has Akame pinned down, she states that the weak do not deserve to fight against her. Akame declares that even at the expense of her life, she will defeat Esdeath. With this newfound power, Akame is now able to fight on par with Esdeath. She proves to be too fast for Esdeath to handle and is able to pin her down. Esdeath protects herself with ice, but Akame is able to power through the ice and pierce Esdeath's left arm with Murasame. However, Esdeath used Mahapadma, freezing time. As Esdeath attempts to finish off Akame, an afterimage takes her place and Akame slices Esdeath from above as Mahapadma wears off. Esdeath asks Akame how she was able to move while Mahapadma was active, and Akame claims Esdeath was looking at an image of her bloodlust. Esdeath says that she still doesn't understand but willingly accepts defeat. Akame and Agenda mourn Tatsumi's death as Wave and Run say their goodbyes to Esdeath, stating both Esdeath and Tatsumi are finally resting in peace. Honest attempts to escape and arrogantly believes that as long as he is alive, he can take over the empire again, but he is caught by Leone, who refuses to let him escape with his life. Honest calls out to his guards to save him, but no one comes for him, and without the emperor, he is left defenseless, and Leone tries to finish him off once and for all. However, Leone disagrees with that statement as she fights through the pain and is able to endure it with brute force and gives him a well-deserved punch, and he is knocked to the ground. As he reels in pain, she grabs his beard and he asks why she's doing this to him, but she condemns his actions. With Honest helpless to do anything else and his fate sealed, Leone proceeds to strike Honest several times and crushes his head, finally killing the Prime Minister and completing Night Raid's mission. With Honest's death, the war is over. After the revolution, Akame and Leone met over the wall that surrounded the palace. The two bid farewell to each other since Night Raid is no longer needed. The citizens celebrated the Revolutionary Army's victory and a parade was held. Leone walks off into an empty alley and dies from the injuries received from Honest. The Emperor realizes the mistake. He failed to protect the Empire when it needed protection, and he happily pays for it with his life by dying with honor. The Emperor asked Agenda to rebuild this kingdom with no more bloodshed. Agenda keeps her promise as the guillotine decapitates the Emperor, indicating that it is finally the last drop of bloodshed. Wave and Run visited Kurome's grave, declaring that they would help the new kingdom. Back in Tatsumi's hometown village, everyone gathers as they have received a large amount of money. Now that they no longer have to starve, they plan to celebrate when Tatsumi, Sayo, and Ayasu return, unaware that all three of them have died and will not come back. In the capital, the citizens are working together to rebuild it, Ball's wife and daughter among them. Akame and Agenda meet together and the latter is impressed at how quickly the capital is repairing itself. Agenda notes Magetama manifestation has shortened her lifespan, but she will happily use the rest of it to help rebuild the kingdom. Akame volunteers to have all of the wrongdoings of the Revolutionary Army placed on her. Akame thanks Agenda for letting her into the Night Raid and the two part, with Agenda telling Akame to survive. Later on, Night Raid's existence was erased from all records. In a post-credit scene, Akame wanders in a desert, ambushed by several people who seem to be Tegu users. She again states that as a survivor, she shoulders the feelings of her deceased comrades and begins a battle with the bandits. Is restore Tatsumi's human form and finding a cure for the pain in Akame's body from Murasame's trump card? And do not forget to subscribe to my channel.